I gave her my kidney. No hesitation. No second thoughts. Just love. We were married for 38 years at the time. She was sick, weak, and scared. Her doctors said the waiting list could take years. I said no. I won't let her die waiting. So I got tested. I was a match. The surgery wasn't easy on me. I was 63, not a young man anymore. But I recovered fast. I remember her lying in that hospital bed, pale, but alive. She reached for my hand and whispered, "You saved me." At that moment, I thought it was worth it. Every ounce of pain. Every stitch. Every sleepless night. She came home, and for the first few weeks, she was grateful. She kissed my forehead in the mornings, made soup for me when I was tired. I felt needed. Loved. Important. But something changed. It started small. She stopped laughing at my jokes. She spent more time on her phone, always turning the screen when I walked in. She started going out, supposedly to book club or church meetings. I didn't question it. I trusted her. Until one night, I woke up thirsty. I walked downstairs to get some water, and I heard voices. Whispers. Soft. Intimate. Her voice. And a man's voice. I froze halfway down the stairs. The living room light was off, but a soft glow flickered from the hallway. I stood still, listening. "Don't worry," she said. "He sleeps like a rock since the surgery." A low chuckle answered her. I felt like someone poured ice water down my spine. I backed up the stairs slowly, holding my breath. I didn't confront her. Not that night. I didn't know what to do. The next day, I acted normal. I made coffee. I asked her if she slept well. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "Like a baby." She lied without blinking. That morning, I checked her phone while she was in the shower. Locked. Password protected. That wasn't like her. I didn't want to believe it. But deep down, I already knew. A week later, while she was at one of her church meetings, I checked our security cameras. The motion-activated one in the hallway had been disconnected. Unplugged. So I went to the hardware store, bought 2 tiny hidden cameras, and installed them in the living room and bedroom. I told myself it was paranoia. I prayed it was nothing. But 2 nights later, I watched the footage. And I saw her. My wife. She wasn't just cheating. She was laughing. Moaning. Her hands on another man's body. In our bed. The one I built with my own hands 30 years ago. He was younger. Taller. Tattooed. I didn't know him. But he knew my home. He walked through it like it belonged to him. She told him, he gave me his kidney. Can you believe that? And now he can't even make it up the stairs without getting winded. They laughed. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat there. Cold. Still. And I made a decision. I was going to ruin them both. The next day, I didn't go to work. I called in sick, though I hadn't called in sick in 20 years. I stayed home. I needed time to think, to plan, to feel. But the truth is, I didn't feel anything. No rage. No sorrow. Just silence. I spent most of the morning sitting in the garage. That was my space. The tools, the dust, the smell of wood and oil, it grounded me. I kept thinking about that man's face. How relaxed he looked. Like it was his home. Like he belonged. I rewatched the footage. Again and again. I noticed details I missed the first time. The way she touched his chest. How she laughed when he kissed her shoulder. How she whispered something in his ear and he smiled like a man who thought he won. I felt nothing. That night, she came home like nothing happened. She brought takeout, my favorite. Pad Thai. She smiled, set the table, poured my drink. I thanked her. I even smiled back. She didn't suspect a thing. After dinner, she went to shower. I sat in silence. Then I got up, walked to the bedroom, and opened her side of the closet. There, tucked in the back behind an old suitcase, was a small black box. I opened it. Inside were letters. Photos. Receipts. A condom wrapper. Lipstick-stained napkins. Hotel key cards. Notes scribbled with inside jokes and heart symbols. One letter had his name, Travis. Another had a Polaroid of them naked in what looked like a cheap motel bathroom. Her hand on his chest. His on her thigh. I put everything back exactly where it was. Then I went into my workshop and opened the safe where I kept the flash drive with all the camera footage. Backups. Organized. Dated. Labeled. I wasn't just going to expose her. I was going to bury her. But not yet. The next few days, I acted normal. I kissed her goodbye in the mornings, texted her during the day, made dinner at night. She was relaxed again. Comfortable. Confident. I let her be. And I watched. She met Travis twice more that week. Once at the local library parking lot. Once behind the back entrance of a yoga studio. I followed. I filmed. She didn't see me. I stayed 2 steps ahead. But then something happened. Late Friday night, she got a call while we were watching TV. She excused herself, went to the laundry room. She whispered, but not quietly enough. I miss you too. I wish I was in your bed right now. Silence. Then she said something that stopped my heart. Next weekend. I'll tell him I'm visiting my sister. He'll believe me. He always does. That's when I decided to push further. Saturday morning, while she was out grocery shopping, I went through her email. She left it open on the family laptop. Rookie mistake. I found dozens of messages. Not just from Travis. There were at least 4 men. Travis. Jonathan. Paul. Reed. All of them spoke the same way. Last night was amazing. You taste better every time. Send me that video again. You looked so damn sexy in that red dress. She had 4 lovers. Maybe more. She had sent videos. Photos. Voice notes. One email even had a shared calendar, color-coded for each man. Red was for Travis. Blue for Jonathan. Green for Paul. Yellow for Reed. That wasn't an affair. That was a system. I sat in silence, staring at the screen. And then I smiled. Because now, I had more than a betrayal. I had an empire of lies. And I was going to burn it down, piece by piece. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the garage with the flash drive in my hand, watching the sun come up through the dirty window. My heart wasn't racing. My hands weren't shaking. I wasn't broken. I was focused. I spent the next day creating duplicates of everything: videos, emails, photos, messages. I made 3 copies and stored each one in different locations, one in a fireproof lockbox at the bank, one in a safety deposit box under a different name, and one hidden in my truck's spare tire well. Just in case. The next step was names. I started writing them down. Every man I could identify from her messages or video footage. I had 4 already. But I knew there were more. I started with Travis. He was easy. His last name was in one of the emails. He owned a local car detailing shop. I drove by, parked across the street, and watched. He looked like a guy who thought the world owed him something. Sunglasses on even in the shade, gold chain, always checking his reflection in his side mirror. He didn't look like someone dangerous. But that's the thing. Neither did my wife. Next was Jonathan. A real estate agent. Smooth talker, always smiling in his photos, always trying to look 20 years younger than he was. His email had an office address. I made an appointment under a fake name. Just to see him face to face. He didn't recognize me. Why would he? I was just the sick husband at home, the old man she didn't even mention. I shook his hand. Looked him in the eyes. I didn't feel anger. I felt calculation. Paul was harder to find. All I had was a first name and a blurry video clip. But the voice was distinct, a deep southern drawl. I ran it through some voice recognition software I had access to from work. Took me 3 days. Found a match, a Paul Kendrick. Former coworker of hers from a temp job she had a year ago. Married. 2 kids. Churchgoer. Of course. Reed was easiest. He was 22. A yoga instructor. She met him in class. The footage from the yoga studio showed them kissing in the supply room. He looked like a boy pretending to be a man. No idea he was about to be destroyed. I added 5 more names over the next 2 weeks. 9 in total. 9 lovers. 9 betrayals. Each time I confirmed one, I printed their face, wrote down details, where they worked, lived, who their families were, and pinned them to a corkboard in my workshop. It looked like a murder board. Because in a way, it was. Not murder by blood. But by truth. Then came the part that still makes my skin crawl. It was a Sunday. I was cleaning the garage when I found an old flip phone in a box labeled tax receipts. At first, I thought it was mine from a decade ago. But when I turned it on, I saw a wallpaper photo of her. Younger. Laughing. Wearing nothing but my army jacket. It wasn't my phone. I opened the messages. They weren't just to men. There were messages to a woman. Her name was Marie. They'd been friends since high school. Marie had visited our house many times. She even stayed over when she went through a divorce. I thought nothing of it. But the messages told another story. Graphic messages. Pictures. Plans. Memories. One message read, "That night in the hotel. I've never felt more alive. You made me forget him completely." Another, "If he dies, I want you to be there with me. You've always been the one." I dropped the phone. That was betrayal number 10. And the deepest cut of all. She didn't just cheat. She created a world where I was already dead. They were planning a life after me. In that moment, everything inside me turned cold. I wasn't just going to destroy her. I was going to make her wish she never survived. A week passed. I barely spoke to her. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did and just didn't care. She was busy. Constantly texting, taking late-night phone calls, leaving for meetings and appointments. I stopped asking questions. I just observed. I became a ghost in my own house. Every morning, she kissed me on the cheek, smiled like everything was fine, and left. Every night, she returned with the smell of another man's cologne on her clothes. By then, I had 11 names on the board. 11 men. 1 woman. And I wasn't done. Tuesday night, I installed a new camera in the basement. She never went down there, but I needed a backup place. A safe zone. I brought down a small desk, 2 monitors, and connected everything: a camera feeds, audio recorders, backup drives. My war room. I wasn't angry anymore. I was surgical. That Thursday, something unexpected happened. She brought someone home. She never did that before. I was upstairs when I heard the front door open. Then voices. 2. Hers, and another woman's. Laughing. Giggling. I moved quietly, peeked through the hallway. They walked into the kitchen. My wife and a tall, athletic woman in tight jeans and a crop top. They opened wine, poured glasses, sat at the counter. I watched on the monitor from the basement. The audio was clear. "She's at the gym, right?" the woman asked. My wife nodded. "Yeah. He barely moves these days. He won't hear a thing." They laughed. Then the woman leaned in and whispered, "So, upstairs?" My wife smiled and said, "Yeah. Same bed. He sleeps like a corpse." They got up, walked upstairs. I couldn't breathe. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. I already had a camera in the bedroom. I watched everything. They stripped each other like it was routine. My wife giggled as the woman kissed her neck. They rolled across the same bed where I once made love to her, where I held her after chemo, where I read her poetry on her birthday. And now she was moaning someone else's name. The sound wasn't what broke me. It was her face. She looked alive. More alive than I'd seen in years. And that's when I knew. This wasn't about sex. It was about power. She didn't cheat because she was lonely. She cheated because she enjoyed it. Because it made her feel young. In control. Desired. Untouchable. That weekend, I followed her. She told me she was going to her sister's lake house. I already knew that was a lie. I tracked her phone. She drove 2 hours out of town to a cabin in the woods. Private. Remote. I waited 30 minutes, then approached. Parked far away, walked through trees. What I saw when I got close nearly made me laugh. There were cars. 4 of them. I recognized 2 from the videos. Inside, the lights were dimmed. Curtains drawn. I got close to the window. My stomach turned. It wasn't a party. It was a ceremony. 6 people. 3 men. 2 women. My wife at the center. Wearing a silk robe. Nothing underneath. They took turns kissing her, touching her, circling around like a worship ritual. Candles were everywhere. Wine. Music. Laughter. She raised a glass. "To freedom," she said. The others repeated, "To freedom." Then the robe fell. And the room went wild. I walked away. Slowly. Carefully. Quietly. I didn't record it. I didn't need to. That image burned into my brain like fire on dry wood. I drove home in silence. Sat in the garage again. My war room glowed on the monitors. I turned on the mic. And I said, "Let's begin." I started with Travis. He was the easiest to reach. I scheduled a car detailing appointment for my old truck. Online. Fake name. Cash. He didn't recognize me when I arrived. I watched him clean my vehicle like nothing was wrong, like he wasn't sleeping with another man's wife, like he hadn't laughed at the man who gave her his kidney. When he finished, I asked to use the restroom. He pointed to the back of the shop. I walked slowly. Took my time. On the way back, I passed his office. The door was cracked. Inside, on the desk, was a folder. Her name on it. My wife's name. I knocked. He looked up. I stepped inside. "Hey," I said. "I think you dropped this." He looked confused. I handed him a USB drive. "Found this outside. Thought it might be yours." Then I left. He had no idea. Inside that USB drive were 26 video files. Every single one featured him and my wife. In our bed. In my shower. On my couch. All labeled by date and location. I waited 3 hours. Then I emailed the same files to his wife. She responded in less than 15 minutes. "Who are you?" she wrote. "Someone who thought you deserved the truth," I replied. One down. Jonathan was next. I sent an anonymous tip to the real estate board, along with footage of him showing my wife a home where they did more than look at the kitchen layout. He lost his license within 2 days. 2 down. Paul? I printed the footage and mailed it directly to his church pastor, his wife, and his 2 teenage daughters. 3 down. I didn't want to ruin their lives. I needed to. Because they didn't ruin mine accidentally. They helped her build the illusion that I was already gone. But Reed. He was different. He was just a kid. Barely a man. Probably manipulated. I almost left him out. Until I watched a clip I hadn't seen before. My wife had recorded a video of him. Not just having sex. But laughing, mocking me. She still sleeps next to him. Can you believe that? While she moans my name. She told me he wheezes just climbing the stairs. They both laughed. That's when Reed became fair game. I uploaded the video anonymously to the yoga studio's website. With the caption, "Instructor of the Month." 4 down. Then I went after the rest. The coworker from her old job? I sent his wife a package, a thumb drive, a letter, and a single rose with the words, "Ask him about May 17th. The church pastor? I leaked the audio of their confession to the entire congregation's mailing list. The woman, Marie? I sent her a message from my wife's email, "I think it's time we stop pretending." Attached was a photo of them in bed, one I knew Marie wouldn't want shared. Each one fell like dominoes. And I watched. Calm. Focused. One night, I came home and she was already in bed. She looked at me and smiled. Like nothing was wrong. Like her world wasn't on fire. "Long day?" she asked. I nodded. "Very." She reached for me. I looked at her hand and thought of every one of theirs. And I smiled. Because now, I wasn't just planning revenge. I was executing it. Her smile began to crack. Not all at once. It started with little things. She'd glance at her phone and frown. She stopped humming in the mornings. Stopped asking me how I slept. She started coming home earlier, quieter. One night, I watched her stand in the hallway, staring at our wedding photo. Her hand touched the frame, then dropped. She didn't notice me watching from the shadows. I had already released 8 different packages to her lovers, their families, employers, and friends. Quiet bombs, detonating one by one. I knew what came next. Her world would collapse. Piece by piece. But I wasn't finished. Not yet. I needed her to feel what I felt. So I planned the final phase. It started with a funeral. My funeral. I had a friend, An old contact from my army days, who worked in private security. He owed me a favor. I asked him for a death certificate. One that looked real. He delivered. I used a fake name, booked a cheap motel in a town 3 hours away. Then I used her laptop to book a cremation appointment under my real name. I paid in advance. Left a suicide note. All fake. All clean. Then I disappeared. I left my phone in a truck at a rest stop on the interstate. Burned my clothes. Took only cash. I spent the next week in that motel, watching everything unfold from a burner phone and my remote access cameras. She came home that first night and found the house empty. She waited. She called my phone. No answer. The next day, the cremation company called her, saying I had made arrangements. That I was gone. That my ashes were ready for pickup. She collapsed in the kitchen. I watched her from the monitor as she screamed, sobbed, fell to the floor and punched the tiles. Good. Then came the sympathy. Her friends arrived. Marie. A few coworkers. A woman I didn't recognize. They brought wine. They held her hands. But she never cried again. 3 days later, she smiled. Not the smile I once loved. The same smile she wore in those videos. Triumphant. Free. That night, Reed came over. She greeted him at the door, kissed him, pulled him inside. They had sex in the kitchen. I watched from my motel bed, holding the remote in one hand, tightening my fist with the other. 2 more men visited over the weekend. Different faces. Same routine. I waited. On the 7th day, I sent the first letter. A copy of the funeral certificate. A copy of the suicide note. A photo of her with Reed, naked on the kitchen counter. I addressed it to her boss. Then to her sister. Then to her church. Then to the board of the charity she volunteered at. One by one, the reactions came in. Her boss called her in. Her sister stopped speaking to her. The church paused her involvement. The charity dropped her from all public appearances. Then I sent her the final piece. An envelope. Inside was a photo. Me. Standing behind her in the kitchen. Taken from my own hidden camera. With a handwritten note. I'm not dead. But your life is. She collapsed again. This time, no one came. I waited 2 more days. Then I returned home. I walked through the front door like I had never left. The house was quiet. She was sitting on the couch, clutching a wine glass, the TV flickering in front of her but playing nothing. She turned when she heard the door open. Our eyes met. She didn't scream. She didn't faint. She just stared. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I closed the door behind me and walked in, step by step, like I belonged. Because I did. This was my house. My life. My name on the deed. My blood on the walls. She set the glass down. It wobbled, tilted, and fell to the floor, spilling red across the carpet like a crime scene. "You're supposed to be dead," she finally said. I smiled. I replied. "You buried me." She stood, shaking. "What is this? What are you doing?" I didn't answer. I sat in the armchair across from her, the same chair I used to nap in on Sundays, the one she always said smelled like old leather and cheap coffee. Now it smelled like war. "Sit," I said. She didn't. I said sit. She Saturday. Silence stretched between us like barbed wire. "You lied to everyone," I said. "You disappeared," she snapped, suddenly finding her voice. You faked your death. You faked our marriage, I shot back. She stood again, arms trembling. You have no idea what I've been through. I laughed. It was short. Cold. I watched it all, I said. Every second. Every man. Every woman. Every lie. Her face went pale. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. I know about Travis. Jonathan. Paul. Reed. The pastor. Your coworker. The instructor. Marie. The others. I know about the cabin in the woods. The ceremonies. The masks. The cameras. She started to cry. I didn't stop her. You weren't lonely, I said. You were empowered. You were hunting. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. She knelt in front of me. This woman, my wife, who once held my hand during surgery, who kissed my forehead before chemo, who whispered a forever in our vows, now knelt in tears before the man she buried. I was lost, she whispered. No, I said. You were free. That was the point. And now you're not. I stood. She flinched. I'm not going to hurt you, I said. Not physically. She looked up, eyes red and full of panic. But I will destroy everything else. Her voice cracked. Why? Because you destroyed me. And I rebuilt myself into something much worse. She looked at me like I was a stranger. And in that moment, I was. I walked past her, up the stairs. She followed, begging, pleading, crying. But I didn't hear it anymore. In the bedroom, I opened the closet. Pulled out the black box. Her trophy box. I carried it downstairs. Dropped it on the coffee table. Open it, I said. She hesitated. Open it. She did. And when she saw what was inside, photos, underwear, letters, receipts, her breath caught. I pulled out one letter. The one from Marie. Read it aloud. You've always been the one. If he dies, I want you to be there with me. She covered her mouth. I pulled out the photo of her and read. Held it up. Kitchen counter, I said. Nice choice. Please stop. Stop? I asked. You stopped being my wife the day you chose to become their toy. Tears ran down her face, but I felt nothing. I dropped the photo. Pulled out the phone. Pressed play. The screen lit up with a video, one from the cabin. Her voice. Her laugh. Her body. She lunged forward, trying to grab it. I stepped back. Don't bother, I said. It's already online. Scheduled to publish at midnight. Along with everything else. She collapsed to the floor, wailing. You can't do this? I already did. I turned away, walked to the door. I'm filing for divorce, I said. I'll leave you the house. You'll need a place to hide. She sobbed louder. I paused. One more thing, I said. She looked up. I leaned down. Next time you kneel, make sure it's not in front of someone who still loves you. Then I left. And I didn't look back. I didn't sleep that night. I drove for hours with no destination. Just the road, the hum of the tires, and the sound of her voice echoing in my head. Not her begging, not her crying. Her laughter. Her moaning. Her whispers to other men. That's what haunted me. I parked near a lake around dawn. Got out. Sat on the hood of my truck and watched the sun rise like it hadn't seen everything I had. I wasn't satisfied. The house wasn't enough. The divorce wasn't enough. I needed to finish it. I needed to erase her. Not her body. Her memory. Her existence in my life. So I made calls. I still had contacts, people who owed me favors from a time when the world was simpler and more dangerous. First, I had her phone number rerouted. Every call she made, every text she sent, now passed through a server I controlled. I saw everything. Then I took her bank accounts. Legally. Cleanly. I had set up financial separation the day before I died. She hadn't noticed. By the time she realized it, the balances were at zero. Her cards declined. Her rent check bounced. Her face turned up on security cameras at stores, trying to pay and failing. Then came the social purge. I created profiles. Dozens of them. Each with different names, different faces, but one mission, to expose her. I uploaded photos. Screenshots. Audio clips. I posted them in forums, on social media, in comment sections of local business pages she followed. Carefully. Strategically. One post a day. Different accounts. Different styles. But always her. Her face. Her words. Her betrayal. She tried to report them. But they just kept coming. She couldn't stop it. Then I did the unthinkable. I published the documentary. 52 minutes long. Edited like a true crime expose. Narrated with calm precision. It began with my voice. I gave her my kidney. She gave herself to 20 others. Then it told everything. The affair with the pastor. The friend. The woman. The instructor. The funeral. The lie. The sex. All of it. Carefully blurred, legally safe, emotionally devastating. Within a week, it had over 2 million views. I received emails. Messages. Some from people who had been cheated on. Some from those who knew her. Some from men who recognized themselves. And then I received a message from Marie. Just 3 words. You win. Finally. I didn't reply. I had no interest in victory. Only silence. One morning, I got a call from a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened. It was her. Her voice was hoarse. Slow. Tired. I can't leave the house. People spit at me. Someone threw paint on my car. My parents won't take my calls. My job fired me. I think about you every day. I think about how I destroyed the only man who ever truly loved me. If you're listening, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I deleted the message. Not out of anger. But because I didn't need it anymore. I had already buried her. Not under dirt. But under truth. I moved to a small town 3 states away. A place with no past and no future. Just quiet. The kind of quiet you can hear in your bones. I rented a modest cabin on the edge of a lake. No neighbors, no internet. Just trees, water, and the occasional rustle of animals I couldn't see. At first, I didn't speak to anyone. I didn't need to. My days were simple: coffee, walks, chopping wood, writing in a notebook I never intended to share with anyone. Just lines and thoughts. Some angry, some hollow, some calm. I didn't think about her. Or at least I tried not to. But sometimes, at night, when the wind howled and the cabin creaked, her voice returned. Not the begging, not the apologies. The laughter. The arrogance. The way she spoke about me as if I was already gone. I'd sit by the fire and stare into the flames, wondering what kind of man lets that happen. I had answers now. He's the man who sees everything and says nothing, until it's too late. Not anymore. After a few weeks, I started going into town once a week. Groceries. Gas. Silence. That's where I met her. Her name was Claire. She worked at the small diner by the gas station. Middle-aged, tired eyes, strong voice. She called everyone hun without sounding fake. She didn't ask me questions. She just served coffee and pie and kept refilling without a word. I liked that. One day, after a few visits, she brought me my check and said, "You not from here?" "No," I said. "Running from something?" "Maybe." She nodded. "That's fair." That was it. No judgment. No curiosity. Just space. She became my routine. Every Thursday, I sat at the same booth. She brought me black coffee and lemon pie. Sometimes, she smiled. Sometimes, I did too. Once, she asked me if I had family. "Used to," I said. She didn't pry. Eventually, I told her a little more. That I had been married. That it ended badly. She never asked why. One Thursday, as she poured my coffee, she paused and said, "You look lighter now." In the eyes. "Do I?" I asked. She nodded. Still heavy. But not drowning. That night, I walked to the lake and looked at my reflection. She was right. I wasn't drowning anymore. Not swimming either. But floating. And in a world like mine, that was progress. One morning, I woke up and realized it had been weeks since I thought of her. Truly thought of her. Not her voice. Not her face. Not her betrayal. Just silence. And it felt good. I went to the diner. Claire saw me and smiled. "You look rested," she said. "I am." And I meant it. She brought me my coffee. I sipped, closed my eyes, and listened. Not for ghosts. But for peace. And for the first time in years, I heard it. I didn't expect peace to feel this strange. It wasn't empty. It was full. Full of possibility. But I couldn't ignore what had happened. What I had done. What I had become. Claire offered me pumpkin pie that Thanksgiving. She said nothing about it, just placed the plate before me and gave me a nod. I ate it slowly. Felt its warmth. Its sweetness. I thought of her, that woman I once loved. Then of what she made me do. I wondered if this was forgiveness. Or the final goodbye. In the weeks that followed, I kept writing. Not just memories. Lessons. Reflections. A confession. I finished a draft one winter evening, sitting by the window as snow fell. My pen scratched the last sentence, "It's not about punishment. It's about truth, and about surviving it." I typed the draft into my laptop and printed it out. I kept the pages in a folder, a record. Including this last part. On New Year's Eve, Claire handed me a manila envelope. Inside was a photo of me, smiling, standing next to her outside the diner. I looked healthy. At peace. She said, "You belong here." I nodded. Closed my eyes. I didn't say more. I didn't need to. In the morning, I mailed the envelope, addressed simply, for her. I included my confession, the story of everything. I didn't hide my face. I didn't spare her name. I left out nothing. Then I slipped the driver's license inside, my new one. With a different address. A different name. Because some stories end, and some require new beginnings. That afternoon, I watched as the mail carrier took the letter. I did not wait for a reply. I no longer needed closure. I had found peace. And with it, the strength to leave. I walked away from the cabin that evening. Left everything on the porch, my chair, my notebook, my coat. I locked the door. And I walked into the dark, silent forest. Not lost. Not running. Just walking, toward whatever came next.